Welcome into the Graham Lake and McLean podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Graham Lake and McLean. We're heading up to the Commonwealth. One of our favorite places to go. We love going up to the Commonwealth. I'll just throw this out there. I hate to be a Debbie Downer to start, but here we are. Brent Pry is 16-21 at Virginia Tech, 10-13 in the ACC. He enters his fourth season. What are your overall thoughts when you think Virginia Tech in 2025?
Yeah, you've got to make some strides, right? It's a really big year, and I think it's even bigger, and it was kind of multiplied because you've got two new coordinators, you got a new head strength coach. Like you made, as a head coach, you made a lot of changes,
right,
that have to work. And so the interesting part about that is, when you look at the hires specifically, this is funny, talking on the coaching staff first before we get to the players, but you see the things that the guys do, that Montgomery does. The offensive coordinator comes in, and he was with Skip Holtz at the UFL and winning championships with the Birmingham team and really innovated offense. Now, Skip does a lot of that. He's been the primary guy, but I'm sure, Coach had a lot to do with that and was in there and making those things happen. But it was a very exciting offense, and he has a ton of experience. So I think by default, you're upgrading a lot there. And I think Virginia Tech fans will agree with me in that sense. And I think they feel a lot better with that. On the other side, you've got a guy in Cephas who doesn't really have a lot of experience, and he's been at the NFL level, which that's good because he sees what it should look like. And he's been around the body types and who we have to go out and get. And I think he sounds extremely smart and very well versed. And they're going to be multiple, who's not, and all these different things. But that's a little bit of less experience. Now, you hope that you have the tutelage of your head coach and Coach Pry to help model some of that. But we kind of asked him about that, and he said, I'm a head coach. I'm not going back to calling plays. And so we'll see. It's going to be really fascinating. I think that kind of, the three-headed coaching staff there is super, super important. And then just from a strength and conditioning standpoint, how was their summer? Hearing, some of the things that we did about where it was going, and you look up one day and you're like, oh my gosh, how are we here? They brought in a guy who has bled, sweat, and cried there, right? And I always say that. I always bring this up anytime you're talking about coaches, strength coaches, support staff, whatever. That's important. Guys that have been there, done it at the highest level, played in the 90s on some really, really good teams. It's just a little different when that guy tells you to do something or asks you to do something because he's already done it, right? He's been in your shoes. He's played in this stadium. He's run these stadiums and everything in between. So I'll say a four-headed monster. I think that's a really big deal there. Of course, the three new hires and Coach, Pry there, that it's going to be a big deal, and you have to make it happen. And what does that mean? What does that mean? Because I do think it's a little warm in Blacksburg. I do think it's a little warm. And I think, you and I talk about this all the time. Hokie Nation, deserves great football. Those fans
don't get us started.
Show up. Seriously, because we could go on a total rant. I'm with you about, we've seen some bad football teams roll in there, and there's not a seat in the house. We've seen some good teams roll in there, and Virginia Tech's not that good. Not a seat in the house. I want to see Virginia Tech as a top 15 team because they deserve that. Those fans deserve that. And it's a really fun brand of football. And so how do you get back to that? What are they able to do? So the question is, what's the minimum that we have to get to? It's not 6 wins. It's more than that. It's more than 6. Is it 8? Is it 9? What does it look like to where you're like, okay, progress? Because these fans aren't going to be able to just see that. Maybe some will, and I apologize for roping everybody together there, but I think most people are not going to be able to just look at a team and be like, yes, we got better. They're going to want the win column to reflect that, even though we know that isn't always the case. But KG, I don't know. They certainly can, and when you look at their roster and you look at who they have when it comes to a quarterback position, Kyron Jones has got to get better. I love Kyron Jones. And maybe now with a new offensive coordinator, maybe he can get better. Maybe something of that nature was holding him back. But we need to see him take a step. We need this team to take a step forward and to get back to what Virginia Tech football is supposed to be.
Well said, Mac.
Am I a Hokie? Why was I so passionate about that? That just came out of nowhere. Is Eddie Royal behind the camera egging me on here?
I think, in some ways we all are Hokies because
we're all Hokies.
We all want to see this fan base rewarded. Yeah. And
right.
We both have had a lot of experience with this fan base. It's a great fan base and they deserve better. Yeah. Okay. I think we all agree with that. you talk about Kyron Jones. He has to stay healthy
Yes.
first and foremost, right? But you have a talented guy under center, and that's a good sign for Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
They do replace all 5 starters on the O-line, their top 3 wide receivers, and Bashal Tootin, who did everything for them last year. I know they're excited about Terrion Stewart, who comes in from Bowling Green, and he's going to be the guy. But that's a lot of question marks, Mac. I mean, I know you weren't able to go up to their fall camp, but you did talk with Brent Pry and others in ACC kickoff. Like, do you feel like they were able to replace some of that production? Because that's my big question.
Well, one of the biggest guys that they brought in is Donovan Green from Wake Forest, who we love and know very, very well, but a guy that just, can't stay on the field. And I kind of asked him about that. This is your last shot. How have you changed things? And he's, dove into preventative and making sure he doesn't get hurt. And how can he change his body from a nutrition and a conditioning and a lifting? Like, how can I stay on the field? Because he's a great player. I mean, he's one of the highest, players recruited in Wake Forest history. Now he's here at Virginia Tech, and that connection, is going to be a big deal. It sounds like Kyron had a really big piece of his, recruiting puzzle. He was on a visit at Ole Miss, and then he came to Virginia Tech, and it sounds like things just really went well. So can he be that piece? And how great would that be for him, to kind of have that exclamation point? But you're right. It's a lot of new faces. Some guys, in the receiver room that have been there, but they haven't been asked of a lot. And now they will. And they're going to have to step up and, really get used to that. And you talk about bringing in a running back. It's what Virginia Tech's known for, right? Great running backs, hard-nosed defense, stopping the run.
Some really good ones. Even in the Brent Pry era where
correct.
You haven't really had the wins. You've had great running backs.
And you've had great players. I mean, look at the dudes that were drafted, that were at, the combine and senior bowls. And so how can we just get more out of them? How can we take that next step? And again, not to overload the position, but a lot of that is going to come down to Kyron Jones. And, can he run the ball effectively? Can he throw it effectively? And the things that we've talked about in the past about him getting better at still needs to sharpen and be the guy that we all know he can be, because I think he can be a really good player. And you mentioned that offensive line. That's going to be tough. Bringing a new offensive line coach as well, whole new group, new guys there, and they're going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to get together, but that's what spring was for. That's what summer and now fall camp have all been the big piece of that. And, the good thing is we'll see really early. I mean, these guys have a crazy start, which historically is a little scary to us because Virginia Tech does not start fast, but you have to. You're playing a neutral site game against a very good South Carolina team. A lot of excitement about South Carolina. They're 13th in the AP poll. And then a Vandy team that's like talking like they're national champs. I mean, I've heard more about Vanderbilt in the last 6 months than I have in the last 60 years. I mean, it's crazy how much, but you got a little juice. You beat Alabama, things happen. But we'll see. But at the end of the day, what an opportunity for the Hokies to make some crazy noise by week 3 in this college football season.
I mean, if you go 1-1 there, right? I mean,
it's great.
The South Carolina game, of course, you've got the Beamer factor. And
it's going to be fun.
All of that. I'm sure Frank will be there. Shane Beamer, of course, coaching for South Carolina, and then Vanderbilt. You get Vanderbilt at home. And a game that, of course, went awry last year, but you still had every chance to win down the stretch. I think people forget that.
Correct.
It's not like you were getting blown out and then you figured it out. So if you go 1-1 there, beat Old Dominion, beat Wofford, 3-1 start going at NC State, you're feeling pretty good, Mac.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves with Old Dominion.
Old Dominion. I knew you were going to bring up Old Dominion.
I'm just kidding. All right, that was rude. No.
I'm
just kidding.
We all had the same thought. Like
what's the minimum by September 21st? Like, what does their record have to be? 3-1?
Yeah, I think 3-1.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to be 2-2. Again, Old Dominion. You're going to beat Old Dominion. You're going to be Wofford. It's not funny, Mac.
Yeah.
Going 2-2, going at NC State, which of course NC State and Virginia Tech, it's always a tight game.
Yeah.
Back to your initial question, where does Virginia Tech need to get to feel good? Because I think we all agree the coaching seat is a little hot with both these schools, Virginia Tech and Virginia. I think it's got to be 8-4.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be 8.
Yeah.
And so,
number.
Of course, if you think that, you're going over the 6.5. Wake Forest at home, also very winnable. Cal at home, Louisville at home. I like these home games, Mac.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this home schedule. If you can beat Old Dominion, Wofford, Wake, Cal, maybe 5 home wins there. If you say Louisville.
Right.
You got, of course, Virginia at the end of the year. but you're going to have to, I think, to get to where you want to be if you're Virginia Tech, I mean, you're going to have to split those openers, starting with 2 SEC teams.
There's no question about it. And I think that is extremely important. Yeah, at minimum. Starting out 1-1, you just have to. And if you start out 0-2, and if you start out 2-2, it's just more of the same. And it's just okay, here we go. Here we go. And so, you have to make some noise.
You got to show us something's different, I think.
You do. And here's the deal. Like, South Carolina, as good as they're going to be, they're replacing a lot. Like, I know they have Lenore Sellers, who I think is one of the best players.
Carolina.
Yeah, right. I don't know why we struggle.
Y'all all know how we feel about South
Carolina. But Sellers, listen, is fantastic. He's one of the best in the country, right? But they're missing a lot. They had a lot of guys move on, and they're very young, very inexperienced. And so how can you contain that guy? I would suggest not going nickel. I would suggest not taking your biggest, fastest linebacker out of the game. Keep him in. Just, not scarred by that or anything. But have a plan, because guess what? The very next week, you have something extremely similar in Vanderbilt and the things that Diego Pavia is going to do from a running perspective. That game plan should be nice. Like fall camp, we better be practicing QB run, okay? And we don't have to say it's for South Carolina or it's for Vandy, but that's what it's for.
For sure.
And I assume that's what they've been doing. If not, start now, please. If you watch this, do it right now. Go to practice, tell them how to do it, and coach them up there. But I'm with you. And I think 6 is the number.
6.5. So you got if you're over, you're going 7.
Yeah, I just think I don't know if it's dumb confidence or what, but I feel over is a good play just because I really like Kyron Drones. I think these 2 coordinator hires will work, and I think there's going to be a little bit of an edge to the Hokies. If not, everybody's fired. We're starting over. Like, that's happening, and that's unfortunate. But that I think some people are fed up with where Virginia Tech is in regards to not winning, and enough people are going to be fed up where you make some changes again. And I don't like that. We'll talk about that with Virginia too. I don't like starting over because it's difficult and it's hard, especially in this type of environment that we are. But product is the product. You're a football coach. You're not anything else, and wins matter.
Let's talk about that. On August 18th, Virginia Tech Athletic Director Whit Babcock, who we both like a lot, will be presenting a case to the school's Board of Trustees, they call it the Board of Visitors at Virginia Tech, that the school needs to commit $52 million in new investments in order to return to the top tier of the ACC.
$52 million a year, or is this just like a one-time, here you go?
It's, from what I'm reading, it says new investments.
Okay.
So that could mean it's a combination of I think, facilities and budget. So, for example, and this was a great graph that I found, if you just want to compare, like the overall football budget, this does not include scholarships. Virginia Tech is $35.8 million. For reference, at Clemson, it's $60.5. I mean, that's a big difference. And Clemson just spends the most, so that's what we're using. But they're also being compared to Florida State at $58.8 million, even North Carolina at $43.7 million. And that's the football budget. There's another stat with football budget that has Clemson at $68 million and Virginia Tech at $41. Like, that's just a huge difference. You look at head coach salary. Now, of course, some of that is what Dabo has earned, but Clemson pays Dabo $11.5 million. Virginia Tech pays their head coach $4.8 million. I think this is interesting. The assistant coaches pool, Clemson $10.1 million, Virginia Tech $5.5 million. It's half.
Oh, man. Wow.
Support staff pool, Clemson $10.5 million, Virginia Tech $3.4. And then this one stands out to me. Number of people on staff. Clemson has 87 people on staff for their football team, which is absolutely
Can I get a job? Can I get a job over there, please?
You could if you wanted. Virginia Tech has 55.
Wow, that's a big difference. Man,
people.
Wow.
And so, I mean, that's like, Mac, you remember, when Mac and I were freshmen, when Mac was a freshman on the Clemson football team, it was Clemson, Florida State, Virginia Tech, and not even in that order. Probably more like Virginia Tech, Florida State, Clemson in terms of the top tier of the ACC. So much has changed in the last 15 years.
Right.
So much that's out of everyone's control. But the bottom line is Clemson and Florida State have continued to invest monetarily.
Well,
and I would argue Virginia Tech hasn't, not at
Yeah.
that level. And that's
Yeah.
what Babcock's arguing, Mac.
Well, and I'll rebuttal that too. Florida State hasn't. They just have now gotten back
Florida
to that, right? That's
State,
why they
yes,
fell off. That's why
true.
Jimbo left, probably.
Exactly.
And
It's a good
maybe I'll
point.
ask him about that. Maybe I'll get more. But
a good
they
point.
just got an indoor. They were like one of the last teams
Yeah.
in the ACC to get an indoor. And I think it's just an old way of thinking. And I've talked to Coach Mark Richt about this when he was at Georgia and Miami. Talked to EJ Manuel about this and when he was on visits and things of that nature. It was like this old school mentality that when some of these teams, a la Florida State, a la Miami, a la Virginia Tech, were good and winning, it was like, that works. What we have work. No. What we have works, and we don't need any more. Yeah. We don't need more. What do you need a slide for? What do you need a new weight room for? People want to come
here regardless.
Yeah, they're going to want to come here, and that's not the case. Yeah. And that's why you saw other teams just ascend and pass you by. And same thing with Georgia. Kirby Smart had to fight for all that stuff. He had to get all of it, kind of in there, and for them to invest. Clemson, same thing. They trusted the vision. They trusted what he did. And a lot of people want to sit here and say, this is funny. This is like a weird tangent that we have gone off of for Virginia Tech fans. Sorry, but bear with us. Everybody wants to say, hey, Clemson got that, brand new awesome facility because they won 2 national championships. No, that was already planned for, budgeted, money raised years before the Natties ever happened. And so that's a funny little indication of you've got to win first and then you do it. No, that helps you win.
Right.
That gets you to that level. It was just ironic timing that, Clemson won them when they did. And so you got to spend money. You got to pay to play. You got to pay your players now. You got to buy facilities. You got to pay your coaches. You have to have staffs, nutrition, all of it. This is a big, big business. And if you don't want to do it, you're going to be left behind some way or another. And that's just the very important piece of the ramifications. So kudos to Whit for drawing this up and sharing that. And who knows what comes of it. It's going to be a fascinating conversation, I'm sure. And hopefully some notes continue to roll from it. But, going back to just this year for Virginia Tech, winning heals all and solves a lot of problems. So go do it on the field.
Help. Like it can go hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
There's probably some people that are on the fence about investing, but they're not sure about the future and the trajectory. So
you get to that 8 wins. Hey man, we need a couple more. We can get to 10. Sell the dream. Keep it going. That's part of it. That's a big part of it.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's so pertinent to what we're dealing with Virginia Tech. Obviously a very proud program, obviously a great fan base, great home environment, great history. But of course they haven't won a conference title in 14 years,
Big deal.
That's what's happened at Virginia Tech. So hate to finish on a negative note, but I think we did.
I don't think it's negative. I think it's inspiring. And it's just current events. It's the news. We're just giving you the news.
Did you know that Ingles sells more organics than any other store? Or that they run their own dairy? Or that they only serve USDA choice and prime meat? Did you know that they have more local craft beer than any place else? Or that they have Energy Smart stores? Or that they professionally slice and package imported cheese from Europe? Did you know about their giant international aisle, local farm partnerships, curbside pickup, wine department? Or that they donate 3,956 meals a day to local food banks? Well, now you do. It's all in the bag. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
That's true, Mac. Okay, Virginia Tech fans, thanks for listening today. A lot to discuss, a lot to get into. Obviously, hope you guys get in the comments and let us know what you think. But also want to remind y'all to use our code at rowback.com, GM20 for 20% off. And the Virginia Tech collection, I know it's been up there for a while. The other collections have just launched. Is awesome. They have so much stuff up there. So maybe you've used other codes in the past. You haven't used ours yet. Need to get some gear for game day. I also love that they have a woman's hoodie for Virginia Tech and for that brand, which is awesome. So make sure you use our code GM20. We've got more previews coming at you tomorrow and then, of course, all next week. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, we'll see y'all.